Millions of people across the United States and beyond have now watched the chilling footage recorded in Minneapolis on January 7, 2026, the moment when 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent during a federal immigration enforcement operation. The video spread rapidly across social media, triggering shock, anger, grief, and a wave of questions that still remain unanswered. City and state leaders immediately condemned the incident, calling it an unjustified killing, while federal authorities insisted the agent acted in self-defense. As investigations continue, Renee Good's death has become one of the most talked about and emotionally charged incidents in the national immigration debate. But beyond the video clip that millions have replayed, there is a deeper story. Who was Renee Nicole Good, and why was she there that day? Renee Nicole Good lived in Minneapolis with her partner and was the mother of a 6-year-old child. Those who knew her describe her as compassionate, creative, and deeply committed to helping others. Her mother, Donna Ganger, said Renee had spent much of her life taking care of people, adding that she was loving, forgiving, affectionate, and kind. Friends and family say Renee was not someone seeking confrontation. Instead, she was known as someone who showed up for her community, someone who believed in being present when others needed support. That belief appears to be what brought her to the scene on the day of the ICE operation. Federal immigration officers were conducting an enforcement action in South Minneapolis, an operation that city leaders had previously said was unwelcome. Minneapolis officials have long maintained policies limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement, and tensions between ICE and local communities have remained high. According to city officials, Renee Good was out caring for her neighbors when the encounter occurred. Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar later described her as a legal observer, someone present to monitor law enforcement conduct and document what was happening. Legal observers have historically played roles in civil rights movements, acting as witnesses during police or federal operations. However, Renee's family disputes the idea that she was part of any organized protest or obstruction. Her mother stated that Renee was not involved in demonstrations and suggested that her daughter may have been frightened during the encounter. This difference in accounts has become a central point of debate as the public tries to understand what led to the fatal confrontation. Federal authorities say the ICE agent involved feared for his life and acted in self-defense. That claim has been strongly challenged by community leaders, witnesses, and elected officials who argue that Renee posed no imminent threat and that lethal force was unnecessary. Within hours of her death, hundreds of people gathered at the site of the shooting despite freezing temperatures. Candles were lit, flowers were placed on the ground, and voices echoed through the night chanting, "Say her name, Renee Good." By the following evening, the crowd had grown to nearly 1,000 people. Minnesota State Representative Aisha Gomez addressed those gathered, calling Renee's death a profound tragedy and emphasizing the need for accountability. Community organizers said the vigil was not just about grief, but about processing fear, anger, and uncertainty in a city already strained by years of tension between residents and law enforcement. The response from public officials was swift. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey expressed deep sorrow and extended condolences to Renee's family, saying there were no words that could make the moment better. State Representative Lee Finke described Renee as a cherished Minnesotan and a beloved community member whose life was taken far too soon. As vigils continued and social media filled with tributes, more details about Renee's life began to emerge. On her Instagram account, she described herself as a poet, writer, wife, mother, and guitar enthusiast originally from Colorado, experiencing life in Minneapolis. Friends shared memories of her warmth, creativity, and empathy. A GoFundMe campaign was launched to support her wife and child as they navigate the devastating loss. The campaign described Renee as pure sunshine and pure love, sentiments echoed repeatedly by those who knew her personally. Donations poured in from across the country, reflecting how deeply her story had resonated with strangers who had never met her. As the days passed, the incident began to influence the broader national conversation around immigration enforcement and use of force. Critics argue that Renee Good's death illustrates the dangers of aggressive federal operations in communities that have explicitly rejected them. Supporters of ICE counter that agents are placed in dangerous situations and must make split-second decisions. Civil rights advocates have called for an independent investigation, demanding transparency around body camera footage, witness statements, and the rules governing ICE use of force. Legal experts note that ICE agents operate under different oversight structures than local police, which complicates accountability when incidents like this occur. The case has also intensified discussions about the role of civilians during law enforcement operations. Legal observers, activists, and ordinary residents often attend such events to document what happens, but the boundaries between observation and perceived interference remain unclear and, in this case, deadly. For many, Renee Nicole Good's death is not just about one incident, but about a broader pattern of fear and mistrust. It has reignited questions about whose lives are protected, how power is exercised, and what safeguards exist to prevent unnecessary loss of life. At the same time, her family continues to grieve privately while the nation debates publicly. Renee was not a symbol to them. She was a daughter, a partner, a mother, and a human being whose absence has left a permanent void. As investigations move forward, the video that introduced Renee Nicole Good to the world remains a painful reminder of how quickly life can be reduced to a headline or a clip. Yet those who gathered in the cold Minneapolis night insist that her story must be remembered in full, not just the final moments, but the life that came before them. Her name continues to be spoken at vigils, shared online, and invoked in conversations about justice and accountability. Whether or not the case leads to policy changes, Renee Good's death has already left a mark on the national conscience. And for many Americans watching from afar, the question remains: in a country divided over immigration, law enforcement, and human rights, how many more names will be added before meaningful answers are found?